Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Prove All Things. I want to thank everybody who's joined us today, whether you're watching on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, or on the CGI Digital Network app, whether that's on your phone, television, or tablet. We thank you for joining us, and thank you everyone joining us who's listening to this as a podcast or watching it later. We're glad to have you. I'm joined from California with co-host Mike James. How you doing, Mike?
Hey, Jeff, doing well. Good to see you again today. And I think this is a taped program, right?
Yeah, so this is a tape program. So we normally encourage your and you still can have your interactions and some comments, and we'll look at it while this is being played. But we can't share it today on the screen. Definitely do like those interactions and questions that we do get as we're broadcasting. But this is pre-recorded, and we'll have to probably remind people a little bit later because some people join us later
Right.
when it starts out that this is a pre-recorded program, but still fun, still good. Uh, since I guess last week I was mentioning about the squirrels, and we're having some more. So here's what they're doing to get rid of the squirrels in our attic today, and I had to actually lock the dogs up into an upper room so they wouldn't be barking at the people outside as they're doing it. They have to go around the entire house and like put this shielding around, I guess, where the roof's at, so they can't dig in and stuff, and then put traps, and it's just a big complex. And, if it gets loud, hopefully we won't be able to hear it down here, but that's what's going on as I'm speaking right now. Is the exterminators are working at removing squirrels.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, we once, in my old house back in Pittsburgh, I had moved away, but my parents were still living there at the time, and they did have squirrels in the attic also. So that's a thing, man. Yeah.
I've done that today. And another thing I was doing that I'd like to mention this, and it's something I think we could do a future program on, because I guess you've heard of the Chat AI. Have you heard of Chat AI and like
No.
AI art? Okay, well, I mean, there's AI programs out there that can generate art. Like you can just
Sure.
tell it, give me a picture of like Batman playing chess with, you know, Shakespeare, and it will draw that for you or
Okay,
whatever.
I've heard of things like
Yeah,
that.
so so
Yeah.
yeah, so they have this AI. They also have a chat AI, which I guess was kind of recently it's like in its testing phase. And so I saw a story the other day about how one of the news sites was using this AI to generate articles because it could actually generate news articles without a person to do it. And I was like, wow. And I
Wow.
read a thing today that there was a rabbi who actually asked the AI to create a sermon for him, and he gave the sermon, and nobody in his congregation realized that he didn't write the sermon.
Hey, where can I learn more about
Yeah,
this?
it's called Chat AI, and so this morning I asked it, well, write me an essay about Sabbath keeping for Christians,
Okay.
and it wrote that for me. And so I shared it on my Facebook page, to see people's reaction. But it's really well done.
Wow.
I was like, we can be replaced
Wow.
even in our job. It did a really good job. But again, it's also the fact that the AI at some point in the future, is going to do even, you can ask it to create a movie for you, and it can
Yeah.
create it right there for you, whatever you want to see and stuff. So
Right.
it's kind of in a way it's fascinating, but also scary that it's kind of taken away, like what humans do, because humans write stories, humans create art, but now it's being done by computers, and it's doing it in such a way that it's kind of almost a competition. So something we can talk about in the future thing is just something I was just messing around with a little bit a while ago, and I was like, wow, that's some crazy
Sarah
stuff.
Connor.
Yeah,
Sarah Connor. You
yeah,
got me thinking about the Terminator movies now.
yeah. When Judgment Day will happen, or the time when AI becomes intelligent enough to like realize we don't need humans anymore.
Yeah, there's some theories about the image of the beast, and I'm not going to get into that today, but maybe we'll
Yeah.
talk about that in the
I
future.
think we should talk about that in the future. But today,
Yeah.
we'll stick with the things we do know, and we have
Yeah.
we have a good friend of the show. We have who's been on before. We have Daniel Russo joining us,
Hey,
Hey
Dan.
guys, thanks for having me back.
and you're in New
Good to
York today,
have you.
Dan.
What was that?
Are you in New York today?
Yeah.
All
It's
right.
cold.
Well, it's good to have you back, Dan. Glad to see you. I mean, you were in my house a few months back, I believe, after the
Yes,
feast,
I
but it was
was.
kind of a short stay,
Mhm.
unfortunately, because of just the circumstances of the world and how things are.
Yeah, for those
But
who don't know the story, the plan was to do a Church of God Network trip in Atlanta, which has been on our list for a long time. So I was already in feast. I figured let's go stay with the Reeds, but I almost infected the entire house with COVID because I came
yeah,
down with it when I was there. So I had to be cut short. I'm coming back in April though. So
yes,
Okay.
well, yep. All right. Well, again, good to have you with us. Could you, I guess, for the people out there, just kind of let them know what you're all about. Just a refresher of what you do and why would we have
sure.
you on the show? Why are you here?
Yeah. So I'm board chairman of Church of God Network, which is a nonprofit that works solely to build community in the Church of God. And we do that through facilitating connection, encouraging conversations, and giving back. So we're a nonprofit, not a church, that wants to help heal the divisions in the Church of God through ways that are non-competitive, non-threatening, that take into account the opinions and sensitivities of leadership and lay members alike. We try to build relationships wherever we can, again, both with members and leaders, and try to foster productive cooperative events or relationships in general.
So since you've been on with us, Dan, what's new with Church of God Network? Some of the folks who are watching today probably have seen you previously. Could you give us an update on what's been happening since then?
Sure. Yeah, it's actually when you told me you were going to ask that question, you don't realize how much until you sort of need to take stock of the last handful of months. But quite a bit actually is happening, since at least has happened and will happen the next month or so since I've been on your program. Several things have changed on the program front for us. So we have three main programs. One is a program called the Ephesians Project, which is designed to facilitate cross-group fellowship events across the Church of God. So we're continuing to have a lot of events that we fund. We have a number happen in your state, Mike. We have some happening in the Midwest, so that's going strong. We also have a program called the Church of God Development Program, which helps brethren build businesses and continue their education in the developing world, and we're continuing to put those out. We also have an opportunity to do something really interesting in Africa coming up. It hasn't been finalized yet, but we know a number of people on the ground in Africa who are really solid people, really awesome people who have a ton of great skills, and there's sort of an appetite for either like a CGN advisory board in Africa or a group that helps do networking activities and capacity building on that continent. We're really excited about that. But the big change is that now, I think people have seen us travel to different groups. They Jeff knows that we go and travel to Atlanta. We're going back to try to build relationships and meet with folks. But recently we had some feedback from a good friend of mine that, you land on our website or you hear about Church of God Network, and people might think, oh, this is really awesome, but how can I get involved? Like, what can I do? And we didn't want this to be a situation where people are just offloading responsibility to Church of God Network to move the needle on this mission. We wanted everyone to be able to participate. So we're at a point now where we're putting out a call for what we call Church of God Network local contacts. So what we're trying to do is sort of copy and paste our template the country and across the world. So if you're someone in whatever, East Texas or Southern California, and you have a passion in building relationships, and maybe you want to periodically go and visit another group, and you'd like to, in your own localized area, be the go-to contact for Church of God Network, just simply make friends, get to know people, work with the ministry, of course, do so in a way that your home congregation minister is aware of what you're doing, that you're prioritizing your local responsibilities first and foremost. But we were looking for people to do on a micro scale what we're trying to do on a macro. That way, if there is a need or an emergency to respond to, we can reach out to individuals in that area that we know personally, and they could put us in touch with the necessary people or the leaders, and we have established relationships on the ground. So that's the big thing we're excited about for the coming year.
Wow, that's pretty cool. Again, if I'm interested in helping out with that if need be. So let me know more about that offline. But getting back to your Ephesians 4 project examples, can you just get specific, maybe about one of them, to let people know like what that looks like?
Yeah, so one that's really cool was last year at the Spring Holy Days, the United Church of God and a Father's Call, which is a group out in Northern California, or headquartered there at least, a joint Holy Day weekend for the Days of Unleavened Bread. So they got together, they stayed at a hotel, they had services together for, I believe it was the first day of Unleavened Bread, and really encouraging. A couple hundred people, I think, were there. They used their grant from us to help subsidize the cost for people to stay at the location, because the thinking of the ministers involved was, hey, that's probably the best way to use these funds, because it encourages people to stay on site and continue to fellowship their services in beyond location, as opposed to like traveling to and from their homes. So it's a project where we try to facilitate events, whether it's something informal like a barbecue, or an event at someone's house. We've had pre-Feast of Tabernacles formal dinners that people put on that are open to all groups that people have used the grants for. But it's also for church organizations who want to have cross fellowship events and could use the funds to either cover the difference between what they want to do versus what they can afford, or just subsidize the cost for brethren.
Cool. Interesting.
That's very, very interesting, and I can't wait till you get back to Atlanta, because that's something definitely we'd like to do here in Atlanta, is to be able to. Because again, I know some people like in the independent church, because my wife goes there, and some other churches they may come, but there's like I don't know anybody around here in like the Living Church of God or United Church of God or Cagua. We just don't have the same social circles, and it would be nice knowing that there are these other churches of God out there that I can see on your map or nearby, figure out a way that we can get together and maybe develop some new, friendships and relationships amongst Church of God, where it's kind of,
because
can't do that.
That's the thing we want to do now. We've been around for a little over 3 years, and the programs we have been effective, but we want to again take it to the next level in terms of building that network in a way people can see. Instead of it being the board members traveling and building relationships and leveraging, phone calls and Zoom calls and in-person meetings to affect change. If Mike, like you said, you're interested, and by the way, for people who are interested, there's a page on our website for CGN local contacts. You can apply there. There's a little application process. There are some guidelines and sort of an outline of the responsibilities for this kind of volunteer position, if you're interested. But the idea is we can't be everywhere, right? We're only 6 people. So if each individual who has a passion for this, Jeff, like you mentioned in Atlanta, if you think, well, I would love to get to know people living Cagua, United, let me, once a quarter, once a month or whatever, go and visit and just make friends, right? And then see after a year or so, is there something we can do here? And that's not the only way we're trying to leverage that. We also have a program called Within Your Gates, which is actually transitioning right now. And by the time this comes out, we'll have been, the new iteration will have been launched. But we want to, so the program for people to understand the history used to be, we were trying to facilitate and fund local work projects. So if you know a widow who needs a new roof and can't afford it, and you work in that industry or know people who do, and you want to get people together on a volunteer basis to lead a work party, we would help promote and fund it. And it was really effective for about a year or so, but then we realized it's a very niche skill set, so it's not really a sustainable program. So what we've changed it into is a general crisis response and like emergency assistance program for the church and for brethren. So whether it's responding to disasters, like if there's hurricanes or tornadoes, whether it's responding to personal emergencies, like I think some of the folks are aware of the poor girl from Cagua who was abducted and unfortunately murdered last year, or just individuals who are in tough times. We want to leverage our network to be of assistance agencies and work with the people who are already responding. We're not trying to usurp the church efforts, but we know, for example, that the young girl from Kagwa, there were church groups on the line to help out. And it would have been great for us to have an established network to then reach out to them and say, hey, we have 15, 20 people who are volunteers for this program who want to help out. These are their skill sets. What do you need from us? We really want the network to become robust and national and international in scope and be able to respond to things like emergencies, like crises, and marshal all the resources for the Church of God to serve.
Wow, that's a great idea. I like what your thinking is there, and just to let the folks know who are seeing you for the first time, Jeff, can we put that website up and kind of just maneuver around it a little bit? I'll let Jeff and Dan kind of talk this out here.
All right, so here's your front page, Dan.
Yeah. So we have a number of different aspects to the website. So if you look at the top menu bar, we have a congregation map, which I think a lot of folks know us for. We've aggregated all the different congregations that are publicly available onto a map, so it's centralized. So if you want to find out who's in your area,
that's a lot of dots on there. There's quite a few.
Like 1,500 congregations, over 100 church groups represented. And as you can see, for folks who've been wanting this for some time, we now have a pop-up feature where you can just hover over. If you want to zoom into your area and just hover over, you can get information without it zooming you all the way in. So we try to continually improve our systems and our informational resources.
Yeah. So let me look
go
where I'm at.
Go to Atlanta, Jeff.
Yeah, I'm gonna go look where I'm at. All right, here we are, Alabama. How did I get this view? All right. I am like sideways view here, or some reason. All right,
that's an interesting view of the country. I've never used it that way.
All right, here we go.
That looks right.
All right, here we go. Like, yeah. All right, so I'm going into Atlanta. So let's see what we got here. That's on the. So
you can also put in the zip code and a radius for folks, just to illustrate the use, maybe. Where you can choose like 50 miles or 25.
So I'm gonna put where I'm at and a radius of 50. So search. So that's within 50 miles of where I live.
Yep. Yeah, quite a few.
And Hungry Hearts. I know that's I know someone from there. I've heard that name before. Hungry Hearts and Kagwa and Living Church of God.
Yeah, so there's 9 congregations.
Yeah.
With what amounts to an hour drive. So it's one of those things to illustrate that we're not quite as isolated as we think. We're definitely scattered, and I think we've unfortunately accidentally become isolated, but we're not in terms of proximity. Not always. I guess if you live out in the West, some areas where swaths of land without too many people, you might be a little further away from folks, but that's a different issue.
So that's definitely a good resource to have, especially I guess for if you're looking for a church while you're traveling, or if you get like the local contact who's going to go visit these churches and try to And I thought about myself being a local contact, but I know because I represent CGI in a sense and I'm a pastor, I feel like they kind of like when I visit somewhere, they're a little suspicious. I don't know if you get that, Mike. Is like, because I'm not there trying to take people away.
A little bit.
Yeah, I'm not there trying to pull people away to CGI. I just want to be friends. But again, I don't want. So I'd rather, if you're somebody who can do that and be good in the Atlanta area, definitely contact Dan. Go to the website there.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. I on Jeff's point, Dan, I'll let you speak real quick. It just came to me that when I first moved here to California. And I visited a couple different groups out here. Again, I was just trying to connect. I didn't have a group going yet. And over time, after visiting a few times, I think that feeling of concern or what's this guy doing here, it was alleviated. Because I made it clear, that, hey, I'm going to go to my mailing list and we're going to send out letters. What time do you have services? I don't want to, mess with that. So I was trying to alleviate any concerns because of the the situation as it was, and everything worked out very well. So I think it's important to, make those attempts to make those linkages and just be as transparent as possible.
Yeah.
If we are pastors or mid.
Yeah, and I think to your point, I actually think there's a lot of value in a minister being a local contact. I understand what you mean, that you're sort of an official representative of the organization you come from. I think you run sort of the risk of those suspicions no matter who you are, but that's sort of one of the things we would want to work with the local contacts to understand and try to navigate. So I'm just real quick, I'm going to run through some of the bullet points, and we have some details underneath each one, but just the main responsibilities and guidelines, because I think it speaks to what you're talking about. Because I think if a local contact goes into a new congregation and is transparent, to Mike's point about what their intention is, like, I just want to meet brethren, I just want to build relationships, I just want to be available as a resource to serve, like just an outgoing concern with no expectation of a return. We mentioned, so the first thing on our list of responsibilities and guidelines is, you'll need to periodically visit other Church of God groups, make sure it's in consultation with your local minister, because then you don't want to start abdicating responsibilities that you have, whether it's, audio visual or song leading or speaking. Number two, do not cause division. It feels like it's an obvious thing, but you don't want to go in and start taking your pet doctrinal beliefs and forcing it on people. That is not the point of this initiative. You want to work with, not against leadership. This is not a grassroots against the leadership sort of movement. This needs to include everybody, and leadership has a lot of experience. They know a lot of folks. They're valuable, and most importantly, they're brethren. They're brethren as well. As I mentioned, the fourth thing is serve. Find whatever there is to do when you visit and serve, whether it's something small, just help alleviate burdens in the area. Show that you're doing this purely for an outgoing concern, not for anything in return. Again, make friends. Just this should be a fun thing to do. You're essentially doing a good work and helping a larger cause simply by building relationships and making friends. And then just when you're there, keep your eyes open for ways to help, not only personally, but ways CGN could help. Are there particular skill sets that are useful in the area? Are there needs that would require some assistance or negotiations? And like I mentioned, Jeff, we're always open to talking with the local contacts in terms of if there are unique realities in their area and difficult situations to navigate. We could get on the phone with them and share our experience, maybe give some advice as to how to navigate it. Probably monthly we'll all get on a call together and share stories and get a sense of what's happening across the country and across the world. But I think there's some value. If you are interested, we can never have enough people doing this kind of work. So
right, definitely. It's what we need to do. I'm glad your organization exists, because it's been needed probably for 30 years at least to have something like this, especially with all the continued splits.
Yeah, I think that what's positive is you're outside of any specific church too, and I think that helps you do what you're doing, to be honest with you.
Yeah, even just personally, it's sort of interesting that I didn't grow up with any official group. Even my home congregation is a group that never even incorporated as a C3. So in terms of baggage going in, it does limit that. It's unfortunate that we have baggage associated with us, but it's a reality. And I think that's one of our advantages as a team, is that I think all of us come in with some experience with the Church of God and know the sensitivities and even can understand why they exist, and we don't downplay them. We respect them. So
cool. Do you guys want to show some more of that website? And then Daniel, if you've got anything you want to address, please feel free to bring that in at any time.
Sure. Yeah, just one more thing to note for the congregation map, actually, just because I know there's some people have voiced concern in the past about some of the groups listed on the map in terms of how we get to a point where we list them, whether we vet them or whether it's very loose in terms of how we come to that conclusion. And for context, I think we have a blurb about it above the map, but we all the congregations listed adhere to core doctrines we outline on our About Us page. We believe, in a general sense, outlines the Church of God belief set, so people can visit with a good assurance that.
What page is that? What are your core doctrines?
Under About Us.
About Us, all right. And that's going to be mission and vision.
Yep, mission and vision. And so all the groups adhere to this list. It's basic but very important. Again, we're not trying to define who's within and without the Church of God. Any nonprofit needs to outline the people they serve, and people need to know that if they visit someplace, they're not going to walk into someplace that is not representative of what they believe. But folks can see, for example, there are some Hebrew roots or Messianic groups, and there's a wide variety of beliefs within those groups. Some groups believe in the Trinity, even, which would go against this doctrinal list. So when we initially put the congregations on the map, we did go through each one and verify that they believed the doctrines. But sometimes, for example, they might address 6 or 7, but not address all 10. And we might have made the assumption, perhaps, if you could tell they came out of worldwide, or they use similar language, or there were other indications that they believed all 10, we put them on, and thinking that if someone realized, hey, they actually don't believe this, they would let us know. But at this point, we actually have a team of data managers now, and we're finishing going through every single congregation listed on the map and checking, and then if they're not clear, contacting them by email or phone to get an official sign off that they believe in these 10 doctrines. We're sort of doing an audit, because also groups' beliefs change too. So in case anything has changed, we're making sure every single congregation gets touched and verified, so people can rest easy that the groups on that map adhere to these beliefs.
I like now that I've read number 8, which I thought was the one to go to. I was looking for not believing in the immortality of the soul, so I got that there. So thank you.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that covers it. So this is a few years back. I was with I think Wynn Skelton, and we had visited the United Church of God's headquarters, and we were driving back from our trip that was out that way, and I started wondering, maybe I was talking to him about this. Wouldn't it be nice if there was some type of something kind of like, have you heard of like the National Association of Evangelicals?
Yeah,
which is like a group of, so in order, it's like we all believe the same thing, so that that we're not in that group, but we all associate with that group.
Yeah.
Is that something that the Church of God Network could be in a sense? In other words, like, I mean, I wouldn't mind if there was like a Church of God's like network seal of approval, like on the Church of God. Like, we got the Church of God Network seal of approval that we're part of the Church of God network in a sense, you know.
Yeah, so Church of God Network is actually based off of a similar organ called State Policy Network, which does the similar thing to the Evangelical Association, but for political think tanks. So I'm imagining the association that you're referring to is probably a C6, so like a membership organization, which is very valuable. I think that's probably several iterations down the line. That's sort of like if things go really well on this front and with this this mission, and there's a lot of buy-in, that eventually you could maybe have an association where you could still have individual groups, and you could, because they are different. One of the things we're not trying to say is that all the groups are the same, because they're not. There are differences. So if people want to stay there and just be a member association that says, hey, we're part of this larger body of people, you could probably end up negotiating better like healthcare rates and all these other benefits you get. If you pool resource, like any membership organization gives you access to a lot of things that, Church of God Network is a member of NICON, which is a New York Council of Nonprofits, and fits through being a member of that org. So down the line, I mean, that'd be sort of like a best case scenario.
I mean, that's just what I've always kind of seen. Like, if we can behave a little more maturely as churches of God in that I think we're not at that maturity level yet. Where I see like the local Baptist church, they have like they'll get together in our county and they'll have like conventions of just the Baptist church. They don't all believe the same, but they get together and they
Yeah.
do things and you know they respect each other and stuff. So we're definitely not there yet, but I'm hoping Church of God Network and similar can help us get to that where we can just be like just that kind of respect and normalcy of a Church of God, where people can say, "Hey, yeah, I believe in this." Now, what are my options for Churches of God? And we got them here and there, or whatever. And we're all happy that people are part of the Church of God, not necessarily where they decided to attend.
Right. I think, and to your point, I'm sure there is a maturity element. I think the thing too with the Baptists or mainstream Christianity is that they have a lot less. They don't care as much about doctrinal beliefs as long as you believe in Jesus Christ. So there's like
Right.
they don't really get in, and even the average Christian is not so much concerned with that sort of stuff. Whereas the Church of God, rightfully so, recognizes the need, the importance of doctrinal beliefs. And so I think a big hurdle right now is showing people that it's possible. I think people are just so burnt out trying to navigate this issue that people really just don't believe it's possible. So I think if Church of God Network can show that it's doable and that you can get wins and you can move the needle, I think more and more people are going to say, oh, well, okay, we can do something. Let's do it. Right. We've even seen some movement. Like we were invited on Vic Kubik's podcast, and Gary Petty came on ours, where we just put that out this week. I was in New Orleans visiting Church of God Ministries International. So like there are a lot of groups aboard. It just seems like everyone's so for so long people have wondered how can we possibly do it, and hopefully we're providing an answer in part to that. So hopefully, long term, I would love for an association to come up. I mean, that would be
again, if it's something as an outgrowth of this, maybe just the Church of God Network for the fellowship type things, but maybe there's some kind of association of the Churches of God. I think we need, because we can't join the National Association of Evangelicals because we'll be like, well, you don't believe in the Trinity, so you're out. You can't be a part of this. But I know that when the original worldwide Church of God became Grace Communion, they joined one of those organizations that they could join because they had to change all their doctrines to be able to join that organization and stuff. I just feel like it would be, when I say maturity, I think we're all, it says we have mature Christians in the church. I think maturity as far as our movement and the amount of time that we've had these different churches that we have to come to a point where now we're established, and now we got to figure out how do we, do what's for the greater good, which is the commission that we've been all given.
And building trust. I think a big thing here is that there've been so many splits over the last several decades, and not only because of the splits and the hurt feelings, but then resulting disconnect for several decades. We need to rebuild trust between each other. And Church of God Network recognizes, since we're new, people aren't as familiar with us. We don't have a track record. We need to be trusted and show that we can do things the right way. We don't expect people to just see what we do, buy in immediately, because we don't want people to check their minds at the door and just have blind faith in us. We want to have to earn that respect and confidence. And so be a slow burn for a little bit, but then hopefully you'll hit that tipping point and a lot of progress will be made real quick.
I definitely hope so. I think a lot of it, sometimes people say, well, leadership doesn't want to do things. And there's definitely blame on leadership as far as not being able to do these type of things. But I think it's also just individual members sometimes will, like, I just left this church right here, so I don't want to get together with these people because I just left them kind of attitude. You know what I'm saying? That people have those feelings and stuff. And that's what I personally have seen when it's trying to, get people, because like in this coming Sabbath, and again, let everybody know this is a pre-recorded, but the coming Sabbath from this pre-recorded episode, I'm inviting anybody from Church of God to come to our house for fellowship and game night. And we're going to kind of get the word out there and get people to come. But I don't know who will come and who won't come for whatever reasons, but it would be nice to have people come out and be a part of that.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's a great idea, Jeff, and also Dan. Everything that you're doing, trust takes time. It cannot be built like this. So
Yeah.
people need to understand that about trust. It takes time. There's no doubt about it. And when you have events like we've had in the church, okay, where these schisms have occurred, that dissipates trust so much more than the
Yeah.
little things you do to build trust. When you put let's think of it like a bank account. When you're making deposits in your trust account, you can make a lot of them and build it up, but one withdrawal can be much more deeply felt than those deposits you've been making over many years. So that's something everybody needs to get in their mind. And but more power to what you guys are trying to do here. Yeah. So Dan, anything else on the website you want to hit on, and then could you get into any major points you want to make today that you didn't make in the last show? And then I think we got one more thing I'd like to ask you about.
Sure. So just real quick on the website, this has been in existence for our whole time, but it doesn't get enough publicity, I think. So under the resources tab up top, we have a Church of God Resource Center. We, similarly to the congregation map, we list any publicly available resource that the Church of God has created, whether it's someone's blog, whether it's organizations, efforts that the different churches put on. We list them all in this resource center that's broken down by category. But then once you're in, you can search the whole thing. We have a search function on the upper right hand corner, like any website's going to have, which can search our website. But then there's all the resource search, which if you toggle that option, Jeff, if you want to show people just the top right of the screen, where the magnifying glass is, yeah. So you have the site search, right, which is searching anything on our website, but then the resources search, which Jeff toggled to. If you put in like Pentecost there, because you're doing a study on Pentecost, you want to see what the Church of God believes there, punch that in, and it will give you a search of everything we have listed in the resource center, any of those pages associated with those sites. So you can see what has written about Pentecost in the Church of God. It's a master search of not only our site, but everything listed and all the pages on the sites that we've listed. So it's a really good resource.
you would hit on any booklets or literature in any of the Church of Gods that they have on their websites dealing with that subject. Is that correct?
Yeah. For example, like there's a category that says church organizations, and so you'll have let's say the Living Church of God or CAGWA,
right.
And we just list website under church organizations if people want to go to their web pages. But that Pentecost search is going to go to that website and then search all of those pages too that are there.
Gotcha. So it's only searching things that's in your resources.
Yeah, but it goes beyond the simple link that it goes to. So it's a very valuable resource that I don't think too many people know exists. So just want to give that a plug. And very quickly, under resources as well, we have something called the Church of God Marketplace.
I'm gonna look up Mike to see if I get what we got for Mike James. Mike James on Amazon. Low prices for Mike James. Okay, that's the ad. All right. So I can find that Mike is done or.
Hey, I'm not the only Mike James out there.
Yeah. All right. So what else we have?
Yeah, just quickly, there's something under resources we have called Church of God Marketplace, which is a database of different brethren-owned businesses. In case people, oftentimes if people want to purchase something, they'd rather purchase it from someone in the church and help some folks out. So the marketplace is a place where people have given permission. Everyone who's on there has given us permission to list it, and it's a database of all those broken down by category. And just I wanted to give a plug that we have a gentleman who's actually revamping and rebuilding that and turning it into sort of a Chamber of Commerce style webpage where people, after we upload it, can go in and like change their profile and add information and manage the page themselves. So it's going to be a little bit more robust. I just want to give people, something to.
So these right here are the categories, and so I have the categories, and I guess I can just do a search in the categories for like this, like what I'm looking for, somewhat.
Yeah, you can do that too. Yeah, absolutely. I think
Like
I
food
think
nutrition.
your screen share is kind of lagging, but because I don't quite see what you're doing at this point. Still in the search for
Okay,
me.
gotcha,
Yeah, me
gotcha.
too. Yeah.
Hopefully it's not lagging on the main thing. Let me look and see. Oh, it's lagging quite a bit then.
Yeah.
All right. I'm just searching away for things, and it's like, I'm stuck on the search.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, but no,
Definitely
that's
some
I
good
mean that's it.
resources there.
The big thing for us is expanding the network. So we put out a call for Church of God local contacts, and we also, if you want something more specific, maybe not visiting the new within your program that we do, the changes that are coming for that, we're putting out a call for volunteers there as well. So you are someone who has experience in a trade or just wants to help out if there is a crisis, you can go to Within Your Gates programs. And
Okay.
it's not there yet. We haven't changed the page yet. It's still the old work party thing. If you're
Right.
watching this recording, but by the time this launches, the new page will be up. And if you want to volunteer specifically for that program, so if there's a crisis and you want to make yourself available, we'll have a place to sign up to be a volunteer for that as well. We're really trying to give folks a way to get involved this year.
Cool. Hey, Dan, we've got a couple guests coming to us in April that that you actually suggested to us to bring onto the show, and I did a little research on their website, and I found it very fascinating what these guys are up to. Could you tell our audience a little bit about this organization and what it is? And I just want to remind folks, we will be bringing these fellas on in April, and we'll make sure that everyone is aware of that specific date. But I think it also speaks to your point, Dan, of having these various connections and then these interesting little projects that people are working on out there within the Church of God community. So could you speak a little bit to that? I've got the acronym, but I want you to spell it out for everybody.
Yeah. The organization is the International Center for World Peace, and it's run by Timothy and Richard Fowler, two friends of mine I've known for a long time. Actually, I've known since before Church of God Network started. We sort of grew up in the same sort of Church of God environment. Really good guys, really knowledgeable guys, serious about their calling and conversion. And the International Center for World Peace is an organization dedicated. I'll let them do most of the work, explain themselves, but they want to focus on God's plan for world peace, like really hot one issue. And a big part of the way they do it is they built a 3D model of the temple in Ezekiel's vision and the millennial temple. And you can actually, through VR, go into the temple and walk around it, and they host events in it. And it's a really interesting project. And I think it's, one of our goals at Church of God Network is to make the Church of God feel cohesive. So, we know this project, we know you all are interested in this kind of thing, putting you in touch with them. They came to us to Winter Family Weekend in Lexington, and they met a lot of folks. So we want to do that kind of connection, whether it's individuals or organization level. And because who knows, we know the International Center for World Peace, who knows what might come from them connecting with you all or them connecting with, a small group in Texas or California or the United Church, whoever is interested. But they are really good guys. It'll be an interesting program. It's not like anything else that exists in the Church of God right now in terms of utilizing emerging technologies. So I think people will be interested to tune in for that one.
Yeah, definitely something out there a bit from the typical Church of God ideas and things that everybody's involved in. So, yeah, we'll be mentioning that to folks as we move forward and get closer to that date. But thanks for giving us a little bit about that, Daniel.
Sure.
As we got a few minutes left on the show, guys. Jeff, any other questions you had? I kind of gave my questions at the beginning. Is there anything, Jeff, you wanted to ask Daniel today that we haven't gotten to yet?
I mean, maybe more like a discussion. of maybe what you think about certain things. Because I look at the Church of God. I look at the you have the earliest history as far as the modern Church of God, which I think probably we can say started with the radio Church of God, or as far as like being a public movement, and that church built to pretty good size, and then we had these divisions, we had these different changes, we have all these churches, and we're going through this phase right here. It's like I just want to know, what do you think about what's going to be the next phase? Because and again, a lot of the older leadership are they're kind of dying out as far as like, because it's just they're reaching the age. I mean, they're in their 80s, 70s, and they won't be here in 10 or 20 years. And I think the Church of God is going to look a lot different in 10 or 20 years. I just want to see what you think it may be, as far as what the Church of God may be. If Christ doesn't return, we don't know when that's going to happen. But if Christ doesn't return,
Yeah.
what do you think the Church of God will look like?
Yeah, I mean, that's interesting. And part of that, too, it sort of speaks to the necessity of Church of God Network, because, we don't know what it's going to look like. And the idea of having greater connection and access to information across our community, I think, becomes really valuable to be flexible and able to adjust on the fly as things change. But one of the things I think about a lot, funny you bring this up, is that what I have noticed is, so we have what we refer to as the Church of God community, which by and large is the folks that came out of Church of God Seventh Day and then Radio Church of God on Forward and Worldwide. But you have a new phenomenon now of largely Hebrew roots and Messianic groups, which again don't always believe the core Church of God doctrine. So this doesn't necessarily apply to all of them. But what I've noticed is there's a growing movement of people leaving evangelical Christianity as they discover the need to observe the Sabbath and the commandments and the holy days, even to some extent. And so if that becomes an emerging trend and people are going there either as to or in addition to the Church of God, it'd be great to know about that and to have a well-established network and contact, so we can have a dialogue with those communities and hopefully share some really important insights that I think are unique to the Church of God. For example, like this is not the only day of salvation, that, or for example, if they do, because maybe they took that with them from evangelical Christianity, they see the Sabbath, they see the holy days, but maybe they still have that vestige of evangelical Christianity. It would be great for our community to share with them the knowledge we have, and maybe this emerging community and ours can, iron can sharpen iron on that front. So I've been thinking about that. It seems like that's a growing movement in Christianity, at least the evangelical side, people leaving for the Sabbath. But man, in terms of, I mean,
I think I've heard there may
years.
be 1 million of those people like that out there in our country now that are part of that
Really?
movement. Yeah, maybe close to 1 million. It's like, I was like, what? I mean, I don't know if that number, how accurate that number is, but that's the number that I read somewhere when somebody was writing an article about the those people in that Hebrew roots type movement.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
it's interesting.
Actually, they outnumber us. They outnumber us in many ways.
Yeah, that's the thing too. Is again, it's and people will say, and I would agree with them, that there are some very key doctrinal differences that really obscure the plan of God if you still hold on to them, right? And there's such a wide variety in those groups because they are so like informally organized and they're like a loose affiliation of folks. But I think that's an opportunity for the Church of God to share insights that I think are incredibly valuable and really show the amazing, awe-inspiring plan of God. And I think that's an interesting avenue to go down. But yeah, I think a lot about what the future might hold for the Church of God. It's changed so much over my lifetime. I talk about completely different than when they were first coming in. So I don't know what it's going to look like, but I'm excited for it because God's called us all for a meaningful purpose and to do meaningful work. So there'll be something to do.
Yeah, hopefully the established churches of God can provide that stability, because there is a tendency, I guess, with the internet for all these fly by night type of church organizations just come out of nowhere. I saw one that rose had a pretty good leader. He was doing these debates. He was doing all this great stuff, and he got arrested. I was like, and then it kind of ended right after that. And it was a big Sabbath keeping organization that was reaching millions. So you see these things, happen. And I just think maybe Church of God, we just need to be that stable force where we're amongst when people get into this, that we don't change, right? Like, I know, at least for us at Church of God International, we have congregations that's been there for almost 40 years. At least the one Tyler's been there over 40 years, and the other's been 30 years, 35 years. That stability in doctrine. I think that's something hopefully we can provide to those who are looking out there, and whatever it is, the other churches that don't waver on those things.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with all those things you guys have mentioned there. Dan, is there anything else? We've got about 5-10 minutes left here. Did we miss anything you wanted to expound upon today? Anything at all that you want to get out there?
Yeah, no, and just to reiterate, the importance of us emphasizing this year that we're trying to get individuals involved, trying to get you all involved, and if you believe in this mission and want to do something meaningful and effective for it, look into those volunteer opportunities with the local contacts within your gates. If you have any feedback, we really depend on feedback, positive or negative. We want all the information, we want the opinions. It's the only way we can get better and grow. If you're interested in donating, we're a nonprofit like any other. You'll never hear us ask for your tithe, but we do depend on donations the way any other nonprofit. We would like it to be above and beyond tithes because we don't want to compete with church groups. But we have a lot of exciting things coming up this year. Even our established programs, we'll expand them, really trying to grow them and grow the company to the next level to make even more progress on this issue. So just encourage people to reach out, to get involved if you so desire. And our goal is to continue to build trust and hopefully prove the worth of the mission to everyone.
Well, let me just ask you on what's happening this year, looking down the road. Are there locations in this country where you've got some projects coming up this year? What are those locations? And once again, all people need to do is what? Just go to the website, or can they send you an email if you've got something happening in their community? What should they do?
Yeah, both, either one. In terms of, so we have some events for the Ephesians 4 project that are scheduled. I won't give specifics just because, a lot of times these events have particular a cap for people who can come, so it might not be advantageous to advertise it. But we have one in Northern California coming up. There's one we're funding. We'll probably be in Tennessee. There's one in Michigan, I believe. So there are a number of them happening. In terms of the Within Your Gates program that we were talking about, that's largely going to be responsive to crises or emergencies. So if you know of a need or a crisis, or if something unfortunate emerges, or if there's a natural disaster, we will be responding to that. So largely that depends on the better we can respond on how robust our network of volunteers is. So if it really does interest you to be involved either in a service project like that, go to Within Your Gates. If you want the more networking side and relationship building, the CGN Local Contacts initiative that we're doing is more along those lines. So just go to our website to volunteer for those. But yeah, our goal is to really ramp that up and leverage that, because we get an effective network of individuals on the ground going, things could change for the better real quick.
Okay. Is there anything our program can do in the future to partner with your network as far as promotion? Or a thought that crossed my mind just now was maybe one of these projects we actually tape somebody there to give people a feel for this live and in person in some way. I don't know. Anything come to mind for you that this forum can do for the network?
Yeah, I mean that's a great idea. I would love that. I know our marketing person Chantel would love that. She loves video content, and she knows I'm not one who thinks on that issue very, very much. I'm not always remembering to do that, but that'd be great. Any sort of anything that CGI is comfortable with doing, any ideas you might have. I know you all have already posted our podcasts on your platform, which is much appreciated.
Yeah. Again, thank you for letting us do that. We just, as a resource, we as a church want to show that we are connected to a greater community, and you're the first one who will let us do it. As far as another organization show some content that's within our app, clearly labeled, but definitely showing that we are part of a greater community. I think that's a good first step to do those things.
Jeff, where is that located on the app, if you don't mind letting folks know out there? Because I got to be honest with you, I had trouble with something last week. Jeff had to show me. So where is that, Jeff?
Yeah, let me pull up the app for you. Let me see if I can get that here. I gotta share. All right, so here's the app. You can see. And I have it in the main wheel right now. There's a thing called Additional Church of God Resources.
Okay.
Also can find it under Bible Studies and Series,
Okay.
which would be Additional Church of God Resources.
Okay.
And then we have Church of God Network Podcast. I only have the first 9. I think you have how many? About 15 or 16 of these so far?
Yeah, the 15th just dropped this week.
Yeah, and I should within the next week or so be able to get the rest of those uploaded. It just have to fit into the schedule of things that I've been getting. But I want to at least get a good start. And these are definitely some very 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 well done podcasts and different topics that probably you won't hear in sermons. I don't think some of these things are definitely very 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 interesting. I think to those in the Church of God. And and one thing I would like maybe maybe the Church of God Network could help us with as far as what our program does is we would love for you to introduce us to more people in the Church of God who could be a part of this show, who want to be who want to network, who want to come on another podcast. That we always want to show that we have that kind of unity, that we're willing to have whoever in the Church of God be a part of what we're doing.
Yeah,
absolutely.
That's
one of the things we do. If there's any church group out there who would like more information, or again, you want podcast guests, if you have a podcast, whatever it is, reach out to us. We've had people reach out with very interesting requests. One was, do you know anyone who used to be involved with the Worldwide Agricultural Program? And the amazing thing is, right? Sometimes you get a request, you go, man, I don't know anyone offhand. But then we reached out to a couple folks that we're in contact with, and within one email, we had someone who used to be involved in that program. Again, it showcases the power of networks, that each person has a finite capacity for their own personal network. But when you are when you're building one on an organizational scale that has multiple people's networks involved, and then the networks of those people who are involved, you can get information real quick. So if anyone does, even if you think it's a wild request, there's no chance we can help, let us try, right? I'm sure we could find something to ease the situation for you all.
Cool. Yeah, hey, one last thing that just came to mind. Again, being single in the church for many years, is there any thought to creating some type of again, I'm just going to be transparent here, some type of dating app on your network for all Church of God singles out there? I know that is fraught in some ways, but I know, just as a single person for many years in the church, that was something many of us single people would have really liked to have. Any thought to that?
Well, it's interesting because that is a big thing that people mention to us, and one of our big is not having duplicative efforts. So there actually are a couple places, the most notable being cogsingles.net. It is. So there is a website where someone's trying to do that. So I'll give them a plug. That's sort of where we send people when people ask about it, rather than starting something up that's in competition. I think at this point,
I sent a member of Atlanta church to that site, and he found his wife, and she moved from Canada, is now part of our church here.
Oh yeah,
wow,
wow. That's a good plug.
That's great.
That's really
yeah, so I mean, it worked for him. I was on that site until I met my wife, and then the day that I was like, all right, I'm completely shutting off all this stuff. I wanted to get off there quick because have any mixed signals.
Well,
But I think it's definitely it's good to have that resource out there.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing. That's cog.net. cog.net.
C singles.
Singles.net. Okay.
Let me just make sure it's .net. I want to give people the wrong address here.
Okay.
Or is it .org?
Do you know who's in
It's
charge
.org.
of that?
It's cogsingles.org. Good call. There are several people, I believe, who work on it and administering it. So I don't want anyone in terms of giving them credit.
Right.
But
right.
Is that it? Is that it right there?
That is it. cogsingles.org. And just to address this, maybe one final thing on the dating realm. Websites like this are important, but because of the church being so small, you have a limited, and we're so scattered. There's always a limited pool of folks. But I think a big thing to do to supplement that, being on a site like this, is traveling, is getting to know people in your area. It's the whole, CG and local contacts thing. It's putting yourself out there.
Great point. Great point, Dan. You're right, man. And,
It's visiting your area. It's getting to know people.
Yeah.
And doing it, I think there's as someone who is still single, reaching out to folks and meeting brethren, not only single brethren, but all brethren, not under the guise of a dating situation, but really just like serving and getting to know folks. And just by virtue of you doing that, you'll become exposed to more peers and you'll have more opportunity. But in the meantime, if nothing develops, you'll have meaningful relationships and meaningful work to do. So I would advocate that as whatever else you're doing, like the cogsingles.org.
Great point. Thanks for that.
Yeah, that's definitely a thing. And I guess people they'll date and marry who they want, but if we can encourage and make it, so that Church of God singles can marry within the church, that definitely helps church growth, I think, in a sense. And I know for my own wife, I don't think I was ever going to find anyone in CGI, but I just found someone in independent church, which came out of CGI at one point, and it is what you said, networking and finding those connections and making those connections, open your world to than just your local congregation. I mean, when you're in a small congregation, anytime like a new single woman comes in, people are looking at us, oh, there you go, right there, and you're like, that feels kind of awkward. That's kind of weird. But you know how it is, Mike. When you're single, people, people are trying to help you out best they can. Sometimes, their efforts aren't the greatest, but it's nice to have that network, and I think it's good. And I would just say for what CGI, some of the progress that we made, because I think maybe 20 years ago, like the Christian educational ministries and CGI, really we had nothing to do with each other, right? Because that ministry came out of CGI. Really didn't have much. I mean, we had some friends and stuff in between it, but now it's like we're working closer together, with that organization. And I think that's hopefully a good model for others that even if you had a split, again, like UCG, Cagua, if you had a split, maybe there's a way at some point to come back together and work together on things,
Yeah, so, not just CFN, but also CEM. We're very close to them, and they were definitely part of CGI at one time.
Yeah, and CFN and the independent, because the independent church my wife goes to, they were once CGI. I met so many people who were once CGI, so it's amazing that are out there. But just the fact that we have the Church of God network, and we have now resources that we can say, it's okay. It's okay to be friends. Yeah. It's okay to do that, to do things together and not worry about. Huh?
I said, in fact, it's a command to love each other. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Definitely a command to love each other. So I'm glad that we're taking. I guess these are like first steps. Yeah, I definitely. I don't think I don't see where we need to be, but I'm hoping that we can be a part of it. At least my group and the groups I know, we definitely support what you're doing, and we hopefully others out there can get on that community bandwagon, I guess, and network really bandwagon. It's definitely a good thing to be a part of.
Okay, well, thanks, Dan. I appreciate your time today.
Yeah.
My
Anything
pleasure.
else you want to leave us with before we leave?
No, that's it. Just thanks, guys. Always love coming on. Anytime you want me back or someone else on the board, more than happy to jump on.
All right.
We'll definitely get you back this year.
Cool.
Yeah, definitely.
Thanks,
And again, yeah, other board members we're open to as well. Send us some names and people. We definitely would like to hear from them. So we'll just say goodbye to everybody, and we'll see everybody next week on I think a live edition of Prove All Things.
Yes. Okay.
All right. Goodbye.
Later.